So I was looking over some clips from the Hawks Summer League, specifically during that game against the Spurs. And if you don't know what I'm talking about Tyson Etienne when he literally caught fire to clutch up the game for us. And as I was watching him absolutely torch the Spurs, I noticed something very interesting. It was when I got to this baseline out of bounds play, and I realized, wait a second, I've seen this one before. I could instantly picture in my head 2 times where we had run this exact play before. But still, I decided to do some more research and rewatched every single corner 3-pointer that the Hawks took this past season. I wanted to be sure that this was a play I could check off as being a part of the Hawks Playbook. And sure enough, it is. So today, we're going to break it down. So, believe it or not, this is actually a pretty common out of bounds play, especially from the baseline. It's one that they like to call pick the picker. There's actually tons of variations of this one play, and the smallest little detail can change the entire thing. And like I said before, this is a very common out of bounds play, but we're going to look specifically at how the Hawks use it. But before I show you exactly what the Hawks spin on this play is, we got to answer the question, why is it called pick the picker? Let's take a look at this play against Minnesota. Now you'll notice it's on the right side of the court instead of the left, and that's helpful because Kevin Huerter prefers to fade to his right instead of to his left. But anyway, regarding the name pick the picker, watch Kevin Huerter here. He's going to go set a down screen on Jared Vanderbilt so that John Collins can cut to the basket, hence making Kevin Huerter the picker. Next, Huerter is going to peel off and turn on the Jets as he curls around to that corner 3. And you'll see as that happens, Capella, he's a bit late, but tries to set a bit of a flare screen for Huerter, and therefore kind of picking the picker. And so now that we cleared that up, I'm going to break some bad news and tell you that this play is a bit different from how we normally run it. You'll see when we ran this play for Tyson Etienne in Summer League, or even during the regular season for Bogey, or other times for Huerter, that they don't actually set the screen. They slip it. So keep an eye on Bogey in this play against Portland, because it's a great example. As we slow it down, keep an eye on Keon Johnson. He's trying to communicate with his teammate Elijah Hughes as the Hawks set this play up. This is where slipping that screen can be super effective. Keon Johnson is expecting Bogey to set that down screen for TLC. But instead, he gets completely surprised when Bogey doesn't actually set that screen and instead sprints off to the corner. What makes that sudden slip so effective in the context of this play is that by the time the defender reacts, the pick for the picker is already in place, therefore prohibiting them from getting out and fully contesting that shot. And so as we run through this play in normal speed, you'll see that the window to get that shot off is actually not that big. But before we discuss the intricacies of how we can maximize that window, we need to understand how exactly the defense is going to try to take that away. And we'll do this step by step with the play, the first of which is the shooter getting into position to set/slip that first screen. And now already we're at a point where the defense needs to coordinate their decision. They can either switch or they can stay. Of course, if we're actually setting that screen, it makes the most sense for the defense to switch. Otherwise, this down screen would be freeing up a cutter wide open to the basket. But again, we slip the screen, and like we've spoke about on the Portland play, it kind of catches the defense off guard, and so they just default oftentimes to staying on their man. But even with the slip, the right decision for the defense to make here is to switch. Just look at the paths they'd have to take to stay on the shooter, especially with the possibility of this defender getting surprised by the slip. He'd focus his initial sprint on recovering to the shooter out here. Once he realizes that he's going to need to shift his course, there's already a screen in place to make that even more difficult. And that's why, if possible, the switch is easier. This defender doesn't have to worry about running directly out before maneuvering the screen. Actually, that's only unless you're not going against somebody like Tyson Etienne, who will literally guide you into that screen like he does here. Speaking of which is our next step, that pick for the picker. And that's actually another thing to keep in mind in real time, just how quickly it goes from one decision to the next. But if you can manage that, then you should probably do what the Suns do here, another switch. And so switching on both screens is how the Suns stop this opportunity. You'll see right off this second switch, Jay Crowder can deny the pass and disrupt Bogey's rhythm. And even though Bogey gets him with a little juke, he's still able to get a pretty good contest on that shot. But I doubt we settle for this contested look if the first switch doesn't happen. It won't let me go back to a great angle of this, but the play starts out with Devin Booker on Bogey and Cam Johnson on John Collins. Of course, on the actual play, they switch. But let's imagine that they don't. And instead of the 6'9 Cam Johnson here in the post against Capella, that it's the 6'5 Devin Booker. So even though Jay Crowder takes away our initial plan to free up Bogey in the corner, we now have Capella in the post with a size advantage against Devin Booker. That's a pretty viable option, unless, of course, Trae Young says forget the play and does this again. But anyway, since now we've covered this play from both sides of the ball, it's clear that the best way to slow it down is to switch both screens. But then again, that slip is often a surprise to the defense because we do have plays where we actually set that screen. Anyway, let's dive into the small, intricate details that you really have to emphasize to maximize the play. Even just like a single specific thing like the inbounds pass can throw off the entire play. Whoever's throwing that pass needs to make sure they're throwing an accurate chest pass right into the shooter's shooting pocket. Misplacing or mistiming this pass can hinder the shooter's ability to release their shot efficiently or even maintain accuracy while they take the shot. Of course, that takes a lot of work from the shooter too. If you're that shooter, you come off basically a sprint as you loop around into that corner. You need to now focus on tracking the ball into your shooting pocket, slowing your momentum, and turning more than 90 degrees, all before the defender closes out on you. And through all of this, the shooter still has to maintain their shooting mechanics, and that puts a heavy reliance on footwork. Think about how the ideal stance for a jump shot involves set feet that allow you to correctly load your hips, and that becomes all that more difficult if you're moving, especially in this type of situation where you need to quickly get that shot off while doing so. But good shooters like Bogey know how to calculate the placement of their steps so that they can efficiently convert their momentum into power off of somewhat set hips and then quickly rise up for the jump shot. And so as far as the upper body goes, even just the arms, there's one crucial movement that the shooter needs to do to really maximize their accuracy, especially in a moving catch and shoot look like this. It's called the dip, and it's actually something that most good shooters use in their shot. Watch closely as both Bogey and Tyson Etienne bring the ball below their shooting pocket before they rise up for the jump shot. That's the dip, but what's the point of it? And so, boom, now I appear on camera just so I can best explain the dip from a mechanics standpoint and why exactly it's necessary. So we're going to start with the context of like Bogey or whoever going into that left corner three, catching the ball, turning, and shooting. We're going to stick with that context and starting with the position that they catch the ball in. And obviously they got to stop the ball from going that way. Hopefully they're getting an accurate chest pass. That means when they catch the ball, their hand is going to be on the side of the ball instead of under the ball like it needs to be to shoot. And then as we go up the arm, I'm going to turn like this just to show y'all. I've got my elbow in this like chicken wing position, and that's another thing because, of course, probably if you played basketball and were taught how to shoot by anybody, one of the big rules is elbow in for the most part. And then as we go up my arm even further, my deltoid is kind of pointing up and out. And when I release the shot, that's going to kind of skew my hand like this instead of having a straight follow through. And so then the last thing is I'll turn like this. Of course, like the catch and pivot is that without the dip, my knee is loaded instead of my hips. Remember, we spoke about the proper jump shot having loaded hips. That is not happening unless you dip. And so now we're going to add the dip, and just to show you all how that fixes everything. So, right, obviously you catch the ball, you dip, and boom. First thing is that you'll see my right knee is no longer pointed in. It means I've successfully loaded my hips. And that's from the dip. And to reset my hands, I'm going to do it one more time, dip, and you'll see that now I got my hand under the ball from the dip. I've got my elbow in, and my deltoid is going to allow me to follow through straight. So just slowly dip, and boom, now I can rise up for a jump shot and have it straight, have all my mechanics much better than they were without the dip. And so with all this in mind, watch again closely and you'll probably be able to spot out the dip in these plays. And believe it or not, this all ties back to the importance of an accurate pass. But not just any pass, a chest pass, like I explicitly said earlier in the video. Like, we did run this play one more time in Summer League for Tyrese Martin, and notice the bounce pass prevents him from dipping. If you're catching the ball below your shooting pocket, you're not going to be able to dip any lower. And he just gets absolutely stuck because of that. And so as we emerge from this rabbit hole of shooting mechanics, understand two things. That number one, this is Hawksology. That's just what we do here. And number two, that this is a play we often use in late shot clock scenarios. And of course, it's a quick look for the shooter. And so all those small little details that we covered, they're all key to maximizing the window and quality of the look that the shooter has, except for the dip, because the dip is actually an extra step to the shot, therefore prolonging the time it takes to get the shot off. But at the end of the day, it's still necessary so that the shooter can preserve the mechanics of their jump shot. Overall, though, of course, we're going to see Trae Young playing off the ball more. This could be something that we start running for him. But even though I hope Kyle Korver comes in and just makes our whole off-ball shooting department more dynamic, I'd still like to see this play again. Expect more play breakdowns like this one coming out soon as we hopefully try to craft an entire Hawks Playbook. And then also some more things with shooting mechanics, as I may have gotten a video of a jump shot that a lot of Hawks fans are anticipating seeing this season. We'll do a full breakdown of that, and then also just so many more big things that are coming for Hawksology. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and then just big thank you to everyone who's been supporting the channel so far. I just can't put into words how much it means and how much it helps. So I really appreciate that, y'all. But that's all we got for today. So as always, thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.